The perfect life, the Manhattan skyline glittered like scattered diamonds against the velvet night as Marcus Sterling adjusted his platinum cufflinks for the third time. His penthouse apartment, perched 40 floors above the city's pulse, hummed with the controlled chaos of wedding preparations. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over marble floors, while staff members arranged white orchids and champagne flutes with military precision. Marcus stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his reflection merging with the city lights. At 34, he commanded a tech empire worth billions, his name synonymous with innovation and success. Tomorrow, he would marry Victoria Hamilton, the daughter of New York's most influential banking family. Their union would be more than love, it would be a merger of two powerful dynasties. "Darling, you look absolutely divine." Victoria's melodious voice floated across the room as she approached in a shimmering silver gown that hugged her curves perfectly. Her blonde hair was swept into an elegant chignon, diamond earrings catching the light as she moved with practiced grace. Marcus turned to face his bride-to-be, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "You're stunning, Victoria." "The rehearsal dinner is going perfectly." She pressed herself against him, her perfume expensive and floral filling his senses. "Tomorrow will be even better. The Times will cover it, and Vogue wants exclusive photos." Her lips brushed his cheek. "We're going to be the power couple of the decade." As Victoria mingled with their guest senators, CEOs, and socialites, Marcus found himself studying the faces around him. Everyone was beautiful, successful, and utterly predictable. The conversations revolved around stock prices, vacation homes, and the Hamptons, and who was dating whom in their elite circle. Second thoughts? James Morrison, Marcus's best friend and business partner, appeared at his elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. "Just taking it all in," Marcus replied, accepting the drink. "This time tomorrow, I'll be a married man." To the perfect woman, James raised his glass. Beautiful, intelligent, connected, what more could you want? Before Marcus could answer, a commotion near the entrance drew their attention. The elevator doors had opened, and a woman emerged who seemed to steal the oxygen from the room. Nina Rodriguez stepped into the penthouse like she owned it, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders in waves, her olive skin glowing under the chandelier light. She wore a simple black dress that somehow outshone every designer gown in the room. Marcus's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Time seemed to slow as their eyes met across the crowded room.
You're not the woman.
Who had shared his bed, his dreams, his heart 8 years ago? The woman who had walked away when success began to consume him? But Nina wasn't alone. Beside her stood a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, with dark brown hair tied in a neat ponytail. The child's eyes, bright blue and curious, surveyed the opulent surroundings with wonder. Something about those eyes made Marcus's heart skip a beat. "Nina," he breathed, his voice barely audible above the party chatter. She approached slowly, her hand resting protectively on the child's shoulder. The room seemed to part around them, guests sensing the sudden tension. Victoria, mid-conversation with a senator's wife, turned to see what had captured her fiancé's attention. "Hello, Marcus," Nina said, her voice carrying the same warmth he remembered, though now it held a note of caution. "I hope you don't mind us crashing your party." "Of course not," Marcus managed, though his world was tilting on its axis. His eyes kept drifting to the little girl who was watching him with unsettling intensity. "This is Chloe," Nina continued, her grip tightening slightly on the child's shoulder. "My daughter." "Hi," Chloe said softly, her voice sweet and innocent. "Are you the prince getting married tomorrow?" Marcus knelt to her level, his heart pounding. "I'm Marcus." "And you're very pretty, Chloe." The child smiled, and Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Those eyes that smiled, they were hauntingly familiar. "Chloe, why don't you go look at the pretty flowers?" Nina suggested gently. As the little girl skipped away, Nina's expression grew serious. "We need to talk, Marcus, privately." Victoria appeared at Marcus's side, her smile tight and territorial. "And you are?" "Nina Rodriguez," she replied evenly. "An old friend of Marcus's." "How wonderful." Victoria's tone could have frozen champagne. "I don't recall seeing you on the guest list." "That's because she wasn't invited," Marcus said quietly, his eyes never leaving Nina's face. "But she's welcome here." The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Victoria's manicured nails dug into Marcus's arm as she pulled him aside, her voice a harsh whisper. "Who is this woman, and why is she looking at you like that?" Marcus couldn't answer. His mind was reeling, memories flooding back of passionate nights and whispered promises of a love so intense it had frightened him into choosing ambition over his heart. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about Chloe's eyes that looked exactly like his own reflection in the mirror. Each morning, as the party continued around them, Marcus realized that his perfect life was about to become perfectly complicated. The tension in Marcus's penthouse was suffocating. Victoria's champagne glass trembled in her grip as she watched her fiancé's face transform at the sight of Nina Rodriguez. The perfectly orchestrated rehearsal dinner had become a minefield, with guests whispering behind crystal flutes and stealing glances at the unexpected arrivals. "Marcus, we need to talk. Now." Victoria's voice cut through the ambient chatter like a blade. She seized his arm, her diamond engagement ring catching the light as she pulled him toward his private study. "Victoria, please," Marcus began, but she was already dragging him away from the crowd, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. In the study, Victoria slammed the door and whirled to face him. "Who is that woman? Don't you dare lie to me." "Marcus Sterling. I can see it in your eyes, you know her. Intimately." Marcus ran his hands through his dark hair, his composure cracking. "Nina and we had a relationship years ago, before I met you." "A relationship?" Victoria's laugh was bitter. "The way you looked at her, the way she looked at you, it wasn't just any relationship. You were in love with her." The accusation hung between them like a physical presence. Marcus couldn't deny it, couldn't find the words to minimize what Nina had meant to him. "It was complicated. We wanted different things. Now she's here, the night before our wedding, with a child who looks exactly like you." Victoria's voice rose dangerously. "How old is that little girl, Marcus?" Before he could answer, a soft knock interrupted them. Helena Hamilton, Victoria's mother, entered without waiting for permission. The matriarch of the Hamilton banking dynasty was a woman who commanded respect through sheer presence, silver hair, perfectly coiffed, wearing a Chanel suit that cost more than most people's cars. "Victoria, darling, there are whispers among the guests. People are asking questions about your ... situation." Helena's cold eyes fixed on Marcus. "I trust you can explain this unfortunate disruption." Marcus felt the walls closing in. "Mrs. Hamilton, I can handle this. Can you?" Helena's tone was ice. "Because if there's even a hint of scandal, the Hamilton name will not be associated with it. Our family has invested considerable resources in this union, socially, financially, and politically." Meanwhile, in the main room, Nina had found a quiet corner where Chloe sat with a plate of petit fours, her small hands sticky with frosting. James Morrison approached them cautiously, his curiosity evident. "You're Nina Rodriguez," he said. Recognition dawning. "Marcus mentioned you once. You're an artist, right?" "I run a gallery in Soho," Nina replied, her eyes scanning the room for Marcus. "And you're James, his business partner." "That's right." James knelt beside Chloe, who was carefully examining a chocolate-covered strawberry. "And who's this beautiful young lady?" "I'm Chloe," the little girl announced proudly. "Mommy says we're at a fancy party for the prince, who's getting married tomorrow." James's eyes widened as he studied the child's features more closely. The resemblance to Marcus was undeniable, the same strong jawline, the same piercing blue eyes, even the way she tilted her head when thinking. "Chloe is 6, Nina added quietly, her voice carrying weight that made James's pulse quicken. 6 years old? He quickly calculated the timeline in his head. "Marcus, no?" James asked in a low voice. Nina's expression was unreadable. "He's about to find out." Back in the study, the confrontation was escalating. Victoria paced like a caged animal, while Helena stood rigid with disapproval. Marcus felt trapped between his past and his future, unable to escape either. "I need to talk to Nina," Marcus said finally. I need to understand why she's here." "Absolutely not." Victoria's voice was shrill. "You are not leaving this room to go to her. Not tonight. Not ever." "Victoria, be reasonable, reasonable." She laughed hysterically. The woman who broke your heart shows up with a child who's clearly yours, and you want me to be reasonable? Our wedding is in 18 hours, Marcus. 18 hours. Helena stepped forward, her voice deadly calm. If there's any truth to these implications, the wedding is off. The Hamilton family will not be associated with this ... mess. The door burst open suddenly, and Nina entered without apology. She had left Chloe with James and looked like a woman on a mission. Her dark eyes blazed as she faced the three of them. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to speak with Marcus. Alone. You have some nerve, Victoria hissed. This is my engagement. Party? My home, actually? It's Marcus's home, Nina replied coolly, and what I have to say concerns him directly. Marcus stepped forward, his decision made. Victoria, Mother Hamilton, please give us a moment. I will not, Victoria began. Please. Marcus's voice carried a finality that brooked no argument. 5 minutes. Lena grasped Victoria's arm, her political instincts kicking in. Come, darling, let's allow Marcus to handle this ... situation. As they left, Victoria shot Marcus a look that promised retribution. 5 minutes, Marcus. Then you choose her or me. The study door closed, leaving Marcus and Nina alone for the first time in 8 years. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths and buried feelings. She's mine, isn't she? Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. Chloe is my daughter. Nina's composure finally cracked, tears sliding down her cheeks. I tried to tell you, Marcus. 3 months after you chose your career over us, I discovered I was pregnant. But you'd already moved to New York, already started dating Victoria. I called your office dozens of times, but you never returned my calls. Marcus sank into his leather chair, the weight of 6 years of missed moments crushing him.
Oh my God, Nina.
I have a daughter. We have a daughter. You made your choice, Nina said, her voice thick with emotion. You chose success, money, status. I wasn't going to force you to choose again. Then why are you here now? Why tonight? Nina wiped her tears, straightening her shoulders. Because Chloe deserves to know her father. Because I'm tired of lying to her about why Daddy isn't around. And because... She paused, vulnerability flickering across her features. Because I never stopped loving you, Marcus, even when I hated you for leaving us. The confession hung in the air like a live wire. Marcus stood slowly, moving toward her, his heart hammering against his ribs. Nina, don't, she whispered, backing away. Don't make this harder than it already is. I'm not here to ruin your wedding. I'm here to give you a chance to know. Your daughter. But Marcus was already reaching for her, his hands finding her face, his thumbs brushing away her tears. I never stopped loving you either. Not for a single day. Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of regret and desperate longing, of 6 years of separation and the fierce pull of a love that had never truly died. In that moment, Marcus's carefully constructed world began to crumble, and he realized that everything he thought he wanted paled in comparison to what he had lost. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Marcus's study, where he had spent the sleepless night pacing like a caged animal. His wedding day had arrived, but all he could think about was the taste of Nina's lips and the revelation that had shattered his world. Chloe was his daughter. The thought both terrified and thrilled him. A sharp knock interrupted his tortured thoughts. Dr. Patricia Wells, the family counselor Victoria had insisted they see before the wedding, entered with a concerned expression. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and an air of professional competence. Marcus, I came as soon as I heard about the situation, she said, settling into the chair across from his desk. Victoria called me at 6 this morning. She's quite distressed. Marcus laughed bitterly. Distressed. That's one way to put it. She mentioned a child, little girl who might be yours. Her name is Chloe. Marcus's voice softened when he spoke his daughter's name. She's 6 years old, Patricia. 6 years I've missed. The 6 years of bedtime stories. First steps. Scraped knees. Christmas mornings. ... Have you confirmed paternity? Marcus nodded toward his desk where a DNA testing kit lay unopened. I had James rush this over this morning. Nina agreed to the test, but honestly, I don't need it. When I look at Chloe, I see myself. I see my father. Dr. Wells leaned forward. Tell me about Nina, about your relationship. Marcus closed his eyes, memories flooding back. Nina was ... everything. We met at a coffee shop in Soho. She was sketching strangers, trying to capture their stories in charcoal. I was this cocky young entrepreneur, convinced I could conquer the world. She saw right through me. 8 years. Earlier, Marcus had been a different man, less polished, more passionate. He remembered the tiny apartment he and Nina had shared, where they'd make love on sheets that smelled like paint and turpentine. Nina would work on her canvases while he coded late into the night, both chasing their dreams. You're going to change the world, she had whispered one night. Her naked body pressed against his as they lay tangled in her grandmother's quilt. But don't let the world change you, Marcus. Promise me. He had promised. He had lied. What happened? Between you? Dr. Wells asked gently. I got my first major investor. Suddenly, I was flying to meetings, networking with people who could fund my vision. Nina wanted to come with me, but I thought... Marcus's voice cracked. I thought she would hold me back, that her world of art and emotion didn't fit with my world of business and profit. So you chose your career over her. I chose what I thought was our future. I told myself I was building something for us, that the sacrifices were temporary. But Nina saw the truth before I did. I was losing myself, becoming someone she didn't recognize. The final fight had been brutal. Nina had found Marcus's phone, seen the messages from investors, the dinner invitations to exclusive events where she wasn't welcome. She had confronted him with tears streaming down her face. You're ashamed of me, she had accused. Don't. Want your new friends to meet the struggling artists who can't afford designer dresses? That's not true, Marcus had protested. But even as he said it, he knew there was truth in her words. He had been compartmentalizing his life, keeping Nina separate from his growing success. Then prove it, she had challenged. Choose me. Choose us. Stop chasing money and power and choose love. Marcus had stood there, torn between two worlds, and his silence had been answer enough. Nina had packed her bags that night, and he had let her go. I was a coward, Marcus admitted to Dr. Wells. I let fear make my decisions, fear that I wasn't good enough, that I needed to prove myself to the world. And now? Before Marcus could answer, his father Robert Sterling entered the study. At 62, Robert was distinguished and silver-haired, a man who had built his own empire in real estate. He had flown in from California for the wedding, but his expression suggested this wasn't a social call. Son, we need to talk. Robert's voice carried the weight of authority. I've been hearing disturbing rumors about your ... situation. Father, not now. Yes, now. Robert sat heavily in the chair beside Dr. Wells. A child, Marcus? With that woman from your past? Her name is Nina. And yes, Chloe is my daughter. Robert's face darkened. Do you have any idea what this could do to our family's reputation? To the business? The Hamilton merger depends on this wedding. Marcus felt the familiar pressure, the weight of expectations that had driven him to choose success over love 8 years ago. I know what's at stake. Father, then you know what you have to do. Send the woman away. Pay her if necessary. But this wedding happens today. She's not asking for money, Marcus said quietly. She just wants Chloe to know her father. Then you'll have to make arrangements. Quiet ones.
After the wedding, after...
The merger is complete. Dr. Wells interrupted the tension. Robert, with respect, Marcus is facing a profound life decision. This isn't just about business. Everything is about business, Robert replied coldly. Love is a luxury we can't afford. Marcus learned that lesson once. Apparently, he needs to learn it again. Marcus stood abruptly, anger flashing in his eyes. I'm not 26 anymore, Father. I won't make the same mistake twice. Mistake? Robert's voice rose. Your success, your empire, your position in society, that's what you call a mistake. Yes, if it cost me my daughter, if it cost me Nina. The room fell silent. Robert studied his son with disappointment and something that might have been fear. You're talking about throwing away everything we've built for a woman who left you and a child you've never known. I'm talking about choosing what matters. Soft knock interrupted them. James entered, his expression grave. Marcus, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Nina is here. She's in the garden with Chloe. And... ... double quotes, he paused, holding up his phone. Results came back. They rushed them through overnight. Marcus's heart stopped. And 99.9% probability. Chloe is your daughter. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He sank back into his chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he had lost and what he might still have. Robert stood stiffly. The wedding is in 4 hours. Marcus. Whatever you decide, decide quickly. The Hamilton family won't tolerate humiliation. As his father left, Marcus looked at Dr. Wells, then at James. I need to see her. Need to see my daughter. In the garden, Nina sat on a marble bench, watching Chloe chase butterflies among the roses. The little girl's laughter echoed off the stone walls, a sound that Marcus realized he had been missing his entire life without knowing it. Mommy, look. Chloe called out, cupping a bright orange butterfly in her small hands. It's beautiful. Be gentle, sweetheart, Nina called back, her voice tender. Beautiful things are fragile. Marcus approached slowly, his heart hammering Nina. She turned, her eyes red from crying. Marcus, didn't you get the results? She's mine, he whispered. My daughter. Nina nodded, fresh tears falling. I know this complicates everything. Your wedding, your life, ... Daddy. Chloe's voice rang out as she ran toward them, the butterfly forgotten. Mommy said you're my daddy. Marcus knelt as his daughter threw herself into his arms, and for the first time in 8 years, he felt complete. She smelled like sunshine and strawberries, and her small arms around his neck felt like coming home. I've been waiting to meet you, Chloe whispered in his ear. Mommy showed me pictures, but you're even more handsome in person. Marcus looked over Chloe's head to meet Nina's eyes, and in that moment, he knew what he had to do. The wedding. The merger. The expectations, none of it mattered anymore. He had found his family, and this time, he wouldn't let them go. The grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel buzzed with the energy of New York's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across walls draped in white silk and gold accents. 500 guests filled the ornate space senators, business moguls, celebrities and socialites, all waiting for the wedding of the year. The ceremony was set to begin in 1 hour. In the bridal suite, Victoria Hamilton stood before a full-length mirror, her wedding dress a masterpiece of French lace and Swarovski crystals. The gown had cost more than most people's homes, but her reflection showed a woman on the edge of collapse. Dark circles shadowed her eyes despite layers of concealer, and her hands trembled as her team of stylists made final adjustments. Miss Hamilton, you look absolutely radiant. Her wedding planner Catherine gushed as she adjusted the cathedral train. The photographers are ready for the pre-ceremony shots? Victoria's smile was brittle. Has anyone seen Marcus this morning? He's in the groom's suite with his groomsmen, Catherine replied. Everything is proceeding perfectly on schedule. But Victoria knew better. Thomas Hamilton, her younger brother, entered the suite with a grim expression. 2008. Had inherited the family's sharp intellect and their mother's ruthless pragmatism. Victoria, we need to talk privately. The stylists quickly excused themselves, leaving the siblings alone. Thomas moved to the window, his jaw tight with tension. I've been asking questions about Marcus's situation, he said quietly. The woman, Nina Rodriguez. She owns a successful gallery in Soho. She's not some gold digger looking for a payout. What are you saying? I'm saying this isn't going away. The child is his, Victoria. When from what I've observed, he's already attached to her. Victoria's composure cracked. He promised me this morning that he would handle it, that the wedding would proceed as planned. Did he? Thomas studied his sister's face. Because I just saw him in the hotel garden teaching a 6-year-old how to tie her shoes. He looked different, happy in a way I've never seen him. Meanwhile, 3 floors below in the hotel garden, Marcus was indeed kneeling beside Chloe. patiently guiding her small fingers through the loops of her shoelaces. She wore a simple yellow sundress, her dark hair catching the afternoon sunlight. Nina sat nearby on a stone bench, watching the interaction with a mixture of joy and heartbreak. "Like this, Daddy?" Chloe asked, her tongue poking out in concentration. "Perfect. Sweetheart, you're so smart." Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. Every moment with his daughter felt precious, stolen from time itself. "Mommy says you're getting married to a princess today," Chloe said innocently. "Will that make you a king?"
Oh,
Marcus's heart clenched. "Something like that?" Nina approached them, her expression carefully neutral. "Chloe, why don't you go pick some flowers for Daddy?" "Wait, but don't go too far." As Chloe skipped away, Nina sat beside Marcus on the garden path. "You don't have to do this, you know. Cancel the wedding. I didn't come here to destroy your life." "But you didn't destroy anything," Marcus replied, his voice rough. "You saved me. You and Chloe, you reminded me who I used to be, who I want to be again." Marcus ... Nina's voice was a whisper. "I've watched you from afar for years. I've seen your success, your empire. You've built something incredible. I've built a prison," he said fiercely. "A beautiful, golden prison. I have everything I thought I wanted and nothing that I need." Their eyes met, and the years fell away. Marcus reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Never stop loving you, Nina. Not for a single day. Even when I hated myself for letting you go." "I know," she whispered. "I felt it too. But love isn't always enough, is it? You have responsibilities, expectations, ... double quotes. "I have a daughter," Marcus said firmly. "I have the woman I love. Everything else is just noise." Before Nina could respond, they heard footsteps on the gravel path. Grace Rodriguez, Nina's younger sister, approached with urgency written across her face. At 25, Grace shared Nina's artistic temperament, but possessed a fierce protectiveness toward her sister. "Nina, we need to go." "Now," Grace said, slightly out of breath. "There are photographers at the hotel entrance. Someone tipped them off about you and Chloe being here." Marcus stood quickly. "I'll handle this. I'll have hotel security." "No," Nina interrupted, also rising. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. Can't hide from this, Marcus. In an hour you're supposed to marry Victoria Hamilton. The press will have a field day." "Then I won't marry her," Marcus said simply. "I'll call it off. Destroy your reputation, your business relationships, your family standing." Nina shook her head. "I won't be responsible for that." "You're not responsible for anything," Marcus reached for her, but she stepped back. "I'm making this choice. I'm choosing my family. Daddy, look what I found." Chloe came running back with a handful of white roses, her face beaming with pride. "For your special day?" Marcus knelt to accept the flowers, his heart breaking and healing simultaneously. "They're beautiful, sweetheart, just like you." As he stood, he found himself face to face with Victoria Hamilton. She had changed from her wedding dress into a simple black dress, her hair pulled back severely. Behind her stood Helena and Thomas, their expressions ranging from disappointment to barely controlled fury. How touching Victoria's voice was. Ice, the groom playing family man on his wedding day. "Victoria, I can explain." "Explain what? That you've been lying to me? That you've been carrying a torch for another woman throughout our entire relationship?" Her voice rose dangerously. "That you have a child you never mentioned?" Chloe shrank back against Nina, frightened by the angry voices. Marcus immediately moved to shield them both. "Don't raise your voice around my daughter," he said quietly, but his tone carried steel. "Your daughter?" Victoria laughed bitterly. "An hour ago, you didn't even know she existed. Now she's more important than the life we've built together." "Yes," Marcus said without hesitation. "She is." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Helena stepped forward, her face a mask of cold rage. "You're making a mistake that will destroy everything your family has worked for," she said. "The Hamilton name will not be associated with this scandal. The merger is off. The wedding is off. And you, Mr. Sterling, are finished in this city." Thomas placed a restraining hand on his mother's arm. Mother, perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, Helena cut him off. Let him make his choice in front of everyone. Let him choose his momentary passion over his future. Marcus looked at the faces surrounding him, Victoria's hurt and fury, Helena's cold calculation, his own family's expectations weighing down on him. Then he looked at Nina, who was trying to comfort a confused and frightened Chloe. I made my choice 8 years ago, Marcus said quietly. I chose success over love, money over family, appearances over authenticity. I lost the most important things in my life because I was too proud and too scared to fight for what really mattered. He knelt beside Chloe, taking her small hands in his. I won't make that mistake again. I won't lose you twice. Standing, he faced Victoria directly. Sorry. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you, for the embarrassment, for the wasted time, but I can't marry you. Not when my heart belongs to someone else. Victoria's composure finally shattered. You're throwing away everything for a woman who left. You and a child you barely know? I'm finally choosing what's real, Marcus replied. I'm choosing love. As if summoned by the drama, James Morrison appeared at the garden entrance, his phone pressed to his ear. Marcus, we have a problem. Press is circling. Word is out about the wedding being called off. We need to get you out of here. Marcus looked at Nina, who was watching him with tears streaming down her face. Come with me. You and Chloe, we'll face this together. Akana, I can't ask you to give up everything for us. You're not asking. I'm choosing. He reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. I lost you once because I was too proud to fight. I won't lose you again. Victoria stepped forward, her voice breaking. If you walk away now, there's no coming back. I won't take you back when this fantasy falls apart. Marcus looked at her with genuine sadness. I know, and I'm sorry. You deserve someone who can love you completely. That's just not me. As they prepared to leave, Chloe tugged on Marcus's sleeve. Daddy, are you not getting married to the princess? Marcus knelt to her level, his voice gentle. No, sweetheart. I'm choosing something better. I'm choosing to be with you and Mommy. Good, Chloe said matter-of-factly. I like you better than the scary princess. Despite everything, Marcus smiled. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. As they walked toward the garden exit, leaving behind the wreckage of a wedding that would never be. Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced. In years' peace, the photographers and reporters could wait. Business consequences could be dealt with later. For now, he had his daughter's hand in his, and the woman he loved by his side. He was finally home. 6 months later, the autumn sunlight streamed through the windows of Nina's Soho gallery, casting warm golden light across the canvases that lined the exposed brick walls. The space hummed with quiet energy as art lovers browsed the latest exhibition. A collection of Marcus's architectural photography paired with Nina's paintings titled Structures of the Heart. Marcus stood before one of Nina's newest works, a vibrant canvas that seemed to capture the essence of transformation. The painting showed a man in a business suit slowly dissolving into butterflies, their wings carrying fragments of his former self toward a bright horizon where a woman and child waited. You've outdone yourself, he murmured, as Nina approached with 2 cups of coffee, her paint-stained apron, evidence of a productive morning in the studio. It's called liberation, she said, settling beside him. I started it the night you walked away from your wedding. Marcus wrapped his arm around her waist, marveling at how natural the gesture felt now. Any regrets about that night? Only that it took us 8 years to find our way back to each other. The gallery door chimed, and Chloe burst through, her school backpack bouncing as she ran toward them. At 6.5, she had adapted to having her father in her life with the resilience only children possessed. Her face was flushed with excitement, her dark hair escaping from its morning ponytail. Daddy, Mommy, look what I made in art class. She thrust a construction paper card toward them, decorated with glitter and crayon drawings of 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Marcus said, lifting her into his arms. What's the occasion? It's a thank you card for Miss Rodriguez, Chloe announced proudly. She's my teacher's aide now, and she helped me with my painting today. Marcus and Nina exchanged glances. Grace Rodriguez had indeed found her calling working with children. Having enrolled in an education program after the drama of the wedding had settled, she had become a constant presence in their lives, a bridge between Nina's past independence and their new family dynamic. Speaking of Ms. Rodriguez, Nina said with a smile, "She's bringing dinner tonight. She wants to hear about your presentation." At the architecture conference, the past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change and growth. Marcus had indeed faced professional consequences for his choice. Several high-profile clients had dropped him, and his father had barely spoken to him for 3 months. But surprising support had come from unexpected quarters. James Morrison had stood by him, helping to restructure the business around smaller, more meaningful projects. They had shifted focus from massive corporate developments to sustainable housing and community spaces. "How did it go?" Nina asked, settling Chloe at the small table in the gallery's corner with her homework. "Better than expected," Marcus replied, his eyes lighting up. "The proposal for the low-income housing project in Brooklyn was approved. We're partnering with 3 local artists to create affordable live-work spaces." "It's wonderful," Nina's voice carried genuine pride. "You're building something that matters." "We're building something that matters," Marcus corrected, pulling her close. "This gallery, our family, the community we're creating, it's all connected." The door chimed again, and Dr. Patricia Wells entered, her warm smile immediately putting everyone at ease. She had become not just a counselor, but a friend, helping them navigate the complexities of blending their lives and healing old wounds. "How's my favorite family?" she asked, accepting a cup of coffee from Nina. "We're good," Marcus said, and meant it. "Really good. And how are the wedding plans coming along?" Dr. Wells asked with a knowing smile. Marcus and Nina had quietly gotten engaged 2 months ago, not with a massive diamond or a grand gesture, but with a simple conversation on a Sunday morning while Chloe made pancakes. They had decided on a small ceremony in Nina's family's backyard with only their closest friends and family present. Simple and perfect. Nina replied, "Just like it should be." Speaking of which, Marcus said, reaching into his jacket pocket, "I have something for both of you." He pulled out 2 small velvet boxers. The first contained a delicate silver necklace with a small paintbrush charm for Nina. The second held a child-sized locket with a photo of the 3 of them inside for Chloe. "What's this for?" Nina asked, her eyes misty as she fastened the necklace. "For choosing us," Marcus said simply. "For giving me a second chance to be the man I should have been 8 years ago." Chloe squealed with delight as she opened her locket, immediately running to show Dr. Wells, "Look, it's me and Mommy and Daddy." As the afternoon wore on, the gallery filled with visitors. James arrived with his new girlfriend, Amanda, a kindergarten teacher who had quickly become Chloe's favorite aunt. Even Robert Sterling made an appearance, his relationship with Marcus slowly healing as he watched his son's genuine happiness. "I may not understand your choices," Robert said quietly to Marcus, as they watched Chloe show off her artwork to gallery visitors. "Oh, but I can't argue with the results." "You're happier than I've ever seen you." "I'm finally living authentically," Marcus replied. "It took losing everything to realize what I actually needed, and the business, the financial impact." Marcus smiled. "We're doing fine. It's different, but fine. We're building homes instead of monuments, creating communities instead of competing for contracts. It's more fulfilling than anything I did before." As evening approached, the gallery began to empty. Grace arrived with takeout from their favorite Italian restaurant, and they gathered around the small table in the back room. Marcus, Nina, Chloe, Grace, and James. It was a far cry from the formal dinners of Marcus's previous life, but it felt more real than anything he had experienced in years. "I have an announcement," Grace said, her eyes sparkling. "I got accepted to graduate school. I'm going to become a full-time teacher. It's wonderful." Nina hugged her sister tightly. "So proud of you." "I have news too," James added. "Amanda and I are moving in together. Found a place in Brooklyn near the new housing project." As they shared stories and laughter, Marcus felt a profound sense of gratitude. His life looked nothing like he had planned, but it was exactly what he needed. He had wealth, but not the crushing pressure of empire building. He had success, but measured in relationships and meaning rather than stock prices and magazine covers. Later. After everyone had gone home, Marcus tucked Chloe into bed in Nina's apartment. The space was modest compared to his penthouse, but it felt like home in a way his luxury apartment never had. "Daddy," Chloe said sleepily, "are you happy you didn't marry the scary princess?" Marcus laughed softly. "Very happy, sweetheart. You happy we're all together now?" "The happiest," she murmured. Already drifting off to sleep, Nina was waiting for him in the living room, curled up on the couch with a book. She looked up as he entered, her face glowing with contentment. "She's asleep," he said, settling beside her. "She asked if I was happy I didn't marry the scary princess. And what did you tell her?" "The truth, that I've never been happier in my life." Nina set down her book and moved closer to him. "I love you, Marcus Sterling. I love the man you've become, the father you are, the partner you choose to be every day." "I love you too," he replied, pulling her into his arms. "Love our chaotic, imperfect, beautiful life." As they kissed, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 8 years ago, he had chosen what he thought was success over love. He had built an empire but lost his soul. Now he had chosen differently. He had less money, but more wealth, fewer accolades, but more meaning. A smaller kingdom, but a richer life. Outside, the city hummed with its endless ambition and restless energy. But inside Nina's apartment, in the arms of the woman he loved with their daughter sleeping safely nearby, Marcus had found something more valuable than any fortune or fame. He had found home. The following month, Marcus Sterling and Nina Rodriguez were married in a small ceremony in Nina's family's backyard. Chloe served as flower girl, scattering rose petals while wearing a crown of daisies. James was best man, Grace was maid of honor, and even Robert Sterling wiped away tears during the vows. There were no reporters, no society pages, no merger announcements, just family, friends, and the simple promise to love each other authentically for the rest of their lives. As they danced to their first song as husband and wife, a slow, sweet melody about second chances, Marcus whispered in Nina's ear. "Thank you for waiting for me to find my way back to you." "Thank you for choosing love," she whispered back. "Thank you for choosing us." And in that moment, surrounded by everyone who mattered, Marcus knew he had finally made the right choice. Not the easy choice, not the expected choice, but the choice that led to a lifetime of authentic happiness. Sometimes the greatest success isn't in building an empire. Sometimes it's in having the courage to tear down the walls you've built around your heart and let love in. Marcus Sterling had learned that lesson, and it had changed everything.